Hi and welcome back. Well, at this point in time in this story, the car has been sitting under a cover for at least 5 years or so. Out of sight, but not out of mind. The window support frame and roof brace are significantly lighter and less rigid than the FCRX3. Because the FC firewall is mounted further back in the RX3 body shell, I was able to stitch together a series of box sections that support the window and tie in the support frames for the door. To increase rigidity between the front and rear, I stitch weld in a folded section that's profiled to the floor, creating an extra box section, all TIG welded. Happy with the results, I built up the inside with another box section on top of the original box section and the new box section, and a decorative cover plate for the door sill. The rear locks in the corner support for the FC's rear subframe. When I paint the car, I can mask sections out for the stainless effect. Cutting this hole and making a 3mm frame to hold a drop tank in was a dumb idea, but as I've gone this far, I'm not about to cut it all out and start again. Well, I point out this tube that is now bolted in place from corner to corner on the junction points of the door and engine bay. If you look really hard, you can see the floor to the corner of the window has also had an extra box section skin added in. Corrosion issues required welding some new corners into the rear windows. And now I've decided to switch to an FD engine, so I've made some polyurethane PU40 engine mounts and spanned a steel plate between them to mount the engine. Once again, I'll be using Apex Power FC to run the engine. Relocated the battery in the trunk in a metal box. Battery cables are double wall insulated cables that run through the interior and through the firewall. Where the RX3 front is joined to the FC chassis rails, I'd originally capped off, so to mount the RX3 front bumper I've added some extensions on. Because chassis rails are now wider than the RX3 had, custom brackets also have to be made to hold the front bumper. I'm using a trussed intercooler from a R32 GTR Skyline, which is perfect width for the grille opening. Hopefully I don't need to modify the tanks too much. Custom oil cooler lines to a Series 5 RX7 oil cooler with the thermostat. The copper line is the power steering return line. Made from copper, this should work better than the FC factory steel pipe. At the moment I'm using a standard Series 6 wiring loom, so the layout is similar. I've made aluminium covers, air guides, to hide the FC chassis support tube, which would be hidden on the RX3. Not the final finish, but I couldn't resist changing the outlet on the intercooler. Now on the wheel well side, all the extra supports and box section have been added. To keep the wiring loom away from the heat and hot areas that will be hard to access, I've routed the wires behind the strut tower, and the front guards will hide that. As luck would have it, a 50mm wide FD alloy radiator is a good fit with the factory fans fitted. Okay, I've made up this cross member and FD gearbox mount and made a PU40 PU40 bush to locate it. Time to just smooth it all out, make sure all the areas that are welded are corrosion protected, prepped, then epoxy primed, painted all black. This includes the whole underside of the car. And the FC rear sway bar is fitted with polyurethane bushes ready for the rear suspension to be refitted. Also made stainless steel fuel lines and fitted them with some nylon clamps I've made. Where the axle stand is holding the car up is where the leaf springs would have been mounted on the RX3. And the stainless fuel tank I made gets another mod for a drop-in aeromotive fuel pump. Now, hopefully the weight of the fuel tank so far behind the rear axle doesn't end up acting like a pendulum in the back of the car. So I've also made the tank fully baffled. It has a sump, and that's where the fuel tank pickup is, so it should always get fuel. And the front wheel wells are also prepped and painted. Coat of paint and everything looks amazing. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like, subscribe. Great.